Do rats need to drink water? It seems like such a simple question, a yes or a no, but nature rarely offers answers that are quite so neat. And in the case of water and rats, what seems simple at first becomes surprisingly fascinating. Because some creatures, like a special desert rodent we'll meet in a moment, manage to live their entire lives without ever taking a sip. Let's take a closer look. Meet the Merriam's kangaroo rat. It's not a true rat, and it doesn't hop with a pouch, but its long tail and hind legs give it a kangaroo-like bounce. This small rodent lives in some of the driest parts of North America, where rain can be absent for months at a time. And yet it survives, even thrives. It never drinks water, not from a puddle, not from a cactus, not even dew. So how does it do it? Part of the answer lies beneath the ground. Kangaroo rats spend much of their time inside underground burrows. These aren't just shelters from predators. They are natural refrigerators. Cool, quiet, and slightly humid, these burrows help the animal conserve moisture. When you live in a desert, even breathing too quickly can dry you out. But down here, the air is still. The temperature is low. The rat's breathing slows. Moisture is preserved. It's like living in a thermos. And then there's the biology. Inside the kangaroo rat is one of the most efficient water-conserving systems found in mammals. At the heart of it are its kidneys, organs so finely tuned they make every drop count. Unlike human kidneys, which strike a balance between filtering and flushing, the kangaroo rat's kidneys go into overdrive, concentrating waste into a thick, viscous paste. Its urine is among the most concentrated of any mammal. Almost no water is lost. Even its feces, dry, brittle, crumbly, speak of conservation. By the time waste leaves its body, nearly every usable molecule of moisture has been pulled back into the system. All of this is possible thanks to structures called the loops of Henle, deep within the kidneys. These loops are unusually long in kangaroo rats, allowing them to create extreme concentration gradients. That means they can reclaim water that other animals would simply lose. It's not just efficient, it's masterful. A system built cell by cell to survive in a place where water is not a luxury, it's a myth. Here, biology doesn't just function, it preserves. Now you might think, maybe it survives by eating moist food. And for many animals, that's true. A city rat might nibble on fruit, vegetables, leftover pasta, foods that can be made up of 70, 80, even 90% water. Even dry-looking things like cooked rice or bread can carry enough moisture to help keep a small mammal hydrated. But the kangaroo rat doesn't have that luxury. Out in the desert, fresh produce is nowhere to be found. Instead, it feeds on dry seeds, tiny, hard kernels from grasses and desert plants. On the surface, they seem like the last place to look for water. And yet, even these contain a little. Maybe 5 to 10% by weight, depending on the seed and how dry the air is. It's not much. But when every drop counts, even that helps. Still, this alone isn't enough. The real trick, the reason the kangaroo rat thrives in such an arid place, lies not in the water those seeds contain, but in the energy. Because the kangaroo rat doesn't just eat for calories. It eats to make water. And not in some mystical way, but through chemistry. The same chemistry that powers every breath we take. It's called metabolic water, the hidden hydration your body produces when it breaks down food. And for the kangaroo rat, it's the key to surviving without ever drinking. So, the kangaroo rat eats dry seeds, barely moist, brittle little grains that would do almost nothing for us on a hot day. And yet, from them, it gets nearly all the water it needs, but not in the way you might expect. You see, the kangaroo rat's body doesn't just absorb water from food, it makes it. Every time it eats, a quiet, elegant process begins, one that happens in your body too, every moment of every day. But in the kangaroo rat, it's life-saving. It's called metabolic oxidation. In simple terms, the food, mostly carbohydrates and fats, gets broken down in the presence of oxygen. And in that breakdown, energy is released, along with something else. Water. Here's the basic idea. Take a simple sugar, like glucose. Combine it with oxygen, the kind the rat breathes in. As the body processes it, the sugar and oxygen are transformed into three things: carbon dioxide, energy, and water. It's not magic, it's metabolism. And fascinatingly, it's the reverse of what plants do. Plants take water and carbon dioxide, and with the help of sunlight, they create sugars, storing energy. Animals like the kangaroo rat do the opposite. They take that stored energy and break it apart. In doing so, they release carbon dioxide and water. In a way, every bite of food is a little sponge. A sponge that, when processed correctly, drips water into the body. And the kangaroo rat's body is excellent at squeezing every last drop. Fats, in particular, are a rich source of metabolic water. When broken down, 1 gram of fat can release more than a gram of pure water. That's why fat stores are so important, not just for energy, but for hydration. In humans, this process plays a supporting role, but for the kangaroo rat, it's everything. Its survival hinges on this quiet, internal chemistry, on the invisible water it creates with every heartbeat. So if all animals make water from food, why don't we all live without drinking? The answer begins with evolution. Most animals didn't evolve in deserts. They come from places with lakes and streams, rainfall and morning dew, environments where water was always nearby, in puddles, in plants, in prey. So there was never much pressure to conserve every drop. Instead, animals could afford to lose water. They developed ways to stay cool, sweating, panting, rapid breathing. They traded moisture for survival in a world of abundance. Even today, humans sweat to regulate heat. Our breath carries moisture with every exhale. Our skin constantly releases tiny amounts of water, even when we don't notice. Elephants radiate heat through their ears. Dogs pant after a run. And the rats in our cities? They move fast, eat often, and drink when they need to. They don't conserve water the way a desert creature must, because they never had to. But the kangaroo rat did. It comes from a place where rain is rare and surface water vanishes fast. And so, it adapted, not to make more water, but to lose less. Because in the end, surviving without drinking isn't just about generating water internally, it's about balance. Bigger animals may store more water, but they also need more to function. A hummingbird and a camel face very different hydration challenges. High metabolism means burning more fuel, and often losing more water through heat regulation. In cool climates, water loss slows. In hot ones, it spikes. That's why the kangaroo rat isn't just remarkable for making water inside its cells. It's a master of keeping it. Every part of its body, every behavior is geared toward preservation. It doesn't just survive dryness, it lives within it. Water needs aren't just about thirst. They're about trade-offs, about how you evolved, how you live, and what your body has to do to stay in balance. The kangaroo rat isn't alone in its desert-defying lifestyle. Across the globe, evolution has shaped other creatures with equally astonishing ways of holding on to moisture, or finding it in the unlikeliest places. Take the sand gazelle, for example. Living in the scorching deserts of the Middle East and North Africa, this elegant antelope has a surprising ability. It can lower its own internal body temperature, sometimes below the surrounding air, to reduce water loss through sweating and breathing. Its metabolism slows, its heart rate drops, and by giving off less heat, it avoids the need to cool down. It's not just survival, it's self-regulation on a remarkable scale. Or consider the Namib desert beetle. This tiny insect lives in one of the driest places on Earth, where it rarely rains, and the landscape is mostly bare sand dunes. But each morning, a fog rolls in from the nearby Atlantic Ocean. The beetle climbs to the crest of a dune, lifts its body into the air, and waits. On its back are microscopic bumps that collect tiny droplets of water from the fog. The water rolls down grooves toward its mouth, a miniature water harvesting system built right into its shell. It drinks from thin air. Then there's the iconic camel, often misunderstood, even romanticized. Despite popular belief, camels don't store water in their humps. Their humps are mostly fat, a portable energy supply that also produces metabolic water when broken down. But their real genius is in conservation. They can let their body temperature rise during the day and fall at night, reducing the need to sweat. Their red blood cells are oval-shaped, a unique adaptation that helps them flow smoothly even when dehydrated. And their kidneys? Masters at reclaiming water, producing highly concentrated urine that wastes almost nothing. Even their nostrils help. Camels can close them to prevent moisture loss when they exhale, like a natural valve against dehydration. Different species, different strategies. But the goal is the same: to survive in places where water is rare, unpredictable, or completely absent. Whether it's a gazelle conserving heat, a beetle harvesting fog, or a camel managing moisture at the cellular level, nature has written dozens of solutions to the same challenge. And the kangaroo rat? It's just one chapter in a much larger book of desert survival. It's not just animals that have evolved to survive without water. Plants, rooted in place, unable to seek shelter or shade, have developed some of the most ingenious survival strategies in nature. Take the cactus, for example. Its thick, swollen stem is a reservoir, not just of water, but of life itself. Inside, a sponge-like tissue holds onto moisture for weeks, even months. And that classic waxy coating, you see, it's not just for looks, it's a watertight barrier that locks moisture in and keeps the dry air out. But cacti don't just store water, they guard it. Unlike most plants that open their pores, called stomata, during the day to take in carbon dioxide, cacti do the opposite. They wait until night. Under the cover of darkness, when temperatures drop and evaporation slows, they crack open their stomata to breathe. It's called cam photosynthesis, a special adaptation found in many desert plants. This simple shift in schedule helps them avoid losing precious water to the hot sun. And what about those sharp spines? They're not just for defense. They provide shade, breaking up the harsh sunlight that hits the plant's surface. They also reduce air movement around the plant, creating a thin, humid layer that slows evaporation. In some species, spines even help trap morning dew, directing it toward the base of the plant. Then there's the agave, a desert icon with thick, fleshy leaves that fan out like a sunburst. Those leaves store water, but also grow in a tight spiral, a shape that protects the inner core from heat and sun. Their surfaces are waxy, often bluish or silvery, reflecting sunlight and reducing heat absorption. Some desert shrubs like creosote go even further. When the drought gets extreme, they shut down. Leaves fall off. Growth stops. They enter a kind of suspended animation, waiting patiently for rain to return. Others, like the ocotillo, play the long game. They look dry and lifeless most of the time. But the moment rain hits, they burst into green, sprouting leaves, flowers, and seeds within days. Then, just as quickly, they shut back down, a flash of life, perfectly timed. Desert plants aren't just surviving. They're practicing restraint, timing, and efficiency on a level that rivals any animal. They remind us that strength isn't always about abundance. Sometimes it's about making the most of very, very little. In the struggle to survive with less, not every creature fights harder. Some simply slow down. Welcome to the world of hibernation and torpor. Two remarkable strategies that allow animals to pause their needs, including the need for water. Hibernation is the deeper of the two. Think of it as a full shutdown, a state where heart rate, breathing, and body temperature plummet for weeks or even months. Bears do it in the cold, ground squirrels do it underground, but in the desert it takes on a special twist. Some desert animals don't sleep through winter, they sleep through drought. Take the desert spadefoot toad. When the ground dries and the rain disappears, it burrows deep underground, where the soil is cooler and slightly moist. Then it wraps itself in a special mucus cocoon, a self-made sleeping bag, and enters a state of estivation, a form of hibernation designed for hot, dry times. Here, it can stay dormant for months, sometimes over a year, waiting for rain to return. No food, no water, just silence and patience. And then there's torpor, a lighter, faster version. Where hibernation is like shutting off a car, torpor is more like putting it in low-power mode. Small desert mammals like bats or pocket mice use torpor to ride out tough days or nights. They lower their body temperature and slow their metabolism, reducing their water and energy needs to a bare minimum. Sometimes they do this daily, like clockwork. Even birds use torpor. The tiny hummingbird, for example, might enter torpor between meals, especially when nights get cold. It's not about laziness. It's about preserving resources when they're most scarce. This tactic isn't just limited to animals. Some plants have their own kind of torpor. During the dry season, they stop growing, shed leaves, or shift into a dormant state. Their metabolism slows, their pores close, and their need for water all but disappears. In both cases, animal or plant, it's the same core idea. When conditions become extreme, don't burn through your energy or hydration trying to resist. Instead, wait. In a way, torpor and hibernation are like hitting pause on the story of life, a temporary surrender that leads to long-term survival. Out here, doing less is sometimes the most powerful thing of all. Let's come back to the kind of rat most of us know. The ones that dart through alleys, scurry across subway tracks, or rustle behind kitchen walls. These are Norway rats, urban survivors, adaptable, clever, and persistent. But when it comes to water, they're not miracle workers. Unlike the kangaroo rat, these everyday rats do drink. They need to. Yes, they produce some metabolic water, just like all animals, and yes, they get moisture from their food, especially if that food includes fruit, scraps, or even soggy pizza crusts. But if their diet is dry, say mostly grains or dry pet food, and there's no liquid water available, they quickly start to struggle. Their kidneys are decent, but not extraordinary. Their urine isn't concentrated enough to minimize water loss the way a kangaroo rat's can. They breathe fast, they move often, and their skin and breath quietly release moisture throughout the day. Without water, that steady trickle of loss turns into a drain, and within just a few days, they begin to dehydrate. Muscles tighten, the brain fogs, movement slows. Eventually, organs begin to shut down. In short, city rats may be tough, but they're not built for the desert. They evolved in places where water could be found, in puddles, sewers, drains, or discarded cups, and their biology expects to find it. Remove that access, and you expose a simple truth. Without water, even the hardiest city rat has limits. It's not about cleverness, it's about design. Evolution crafting a body for one environment, not another. So no, normal rats cannot live without drinking. They're survivors, but they're not desert creatures. Imagine this, a Norway rat, your standard city survivor, is suddenly dropped into the heart of the Sonoran desert. No puddles, no trash, no sewer systems or dripping pipes, just sand, heat, silence. At first it does what rats do. It searches, it sniffs, it digs, it darts from shadow to shadow, looking for anything familiar. But nothing is. The sun beats down relentlessly. The temperature rises past 40 degrees Celsius, over 100 Fahrenheit. And there's no relief. Its breathing speeds up, not just from effort, but from heat stress. Each breath carries away a little moisture. Its skin leaks water vapor into the dry air, even if it doesn't know it. By day 2, it's slower. Its nose twitches less. Its fur, once sleek, now clumps with dust. It finds a dry seed, hard as gravel. Not enough to hydrate. It might as well be eating sand. By day 3, the internal balance is breaking. Its kidneys work hard, but they weren't built for this. The water in its body is running low. The blood is thickening. Cells are struggling to function. The brain begins to haze over, thinking foggy, movement uncertain. If it can't find water soon, it won't make it. This is not a failure of intelligence. It's not about strength or willpower. It's about biology. This rat evolved in a world of abundance, of leaks, crumbs, and condensation. Its systems expect water to be nearby. It was never built for a landscape where the sky doesn't cry, and where liquid disappears almost as soon as it appears. Meanwhile, just meters away, a kangaroo rat hops silently through the same desert. Cool, steady, balanced. It doesn't pant, it doesn't sweat. It barely loses moisture as it breathes. It's not struggling, because it never expected the desert to give. Its body was built to endure. Same setting. 2 rats. But only one is designed for this world. Dehydration isn't just about feeling thirsty. It's a slow unraveling, a quiet crisis that begins deep inside. In animals, the first sign is often in the cells. They start to shrink, losing volume as water leaves them. Salts and electrolytes become more concentrated, throwing off the balance that keeps muscles contracting and nerves firing. The blood thickens, the heart works harder, muscles weaken, reflexes dull, and the brain, so dependent on hydration, begins to slow down. Even a small loss of water can cloud thinking, delay reaction time, and drain focus. It's like trying to run a computer on a dying battery, but it's not just about the brain. The skin becomes dry, the mouth parched, organs begin to compete, silently, for whatever moisture remains. It's a full-body emergency. Now, imagine you're a plant. You can't move. You can't search for shade or find a puddle. But you feel dehydration just the same, cell by cell. When water is scarce, a plant's cells lose turgor pressure, the internal pressure that keeps leaves firm and upright. Without it, stems droop, leaves wilt, growth slows, or stops altogether. To survive, plants begin to close their stomata, those tiny pores that allow them to breathe. But shutting down gas exchange means photosynthesis slows too. No water, no carbon dioxide, no food. It's a survival trade-off. Save moisture or keep growing, but not both. Inside, chemical signals race through the plant, telling roots to grow deeper, telling leaves to shrink or fall off, telling the plant to pause. In extreme cases, the plant may enter dormancy, or even sacrifice entire branches to save the core. And just like animals, plants reach a tipping point, a stage where too much water has been lost, and no recovery is possible. Whether it's a kangaroo rat or a cactus, a dog or a daisy, dehydration isn't just a lack of water. It's a system under strain, a quiet, invisible battle between survival and shutdown. Thirst. It seems simple, a dry mouth, a signal from the brain, a need that must be filled. But in reality, thirst is just the tip of a far deeper system. And not every creature experiences it the same way. In humans and many animals, thirst is tightly regulated. Sensors in the body detect rising salt levels, falling blood volume, or changes in cell pressure, all signs that water is running low. These signals travel to the brain's hypothalamus, triggering the sensation we call thirst. It's not just discomfort. It's a biochemical alarm. Drink now, or damage will follow. But some animals don't seem to get thirsty at all. Desert specialists like the kangaroo rat or the sand gazelle rarely experience this urge. Why? Because their bodies are so perfectly balanced, they never fall far enough out of equilibrium to trigger thirst in the first place. They've evolved not just to lose less water, but to operate without ever expecting a refill. Their brains don't ask for hydration, because their biology has learned how to live without wanting. Now here's the twist. Plants know when they need water too. Not with a brain, of course, but through sophisticated internal signaling. When a plant begins to dry out, it produces a hormone called abscisic acid, or ABA. This chemical travels through the plant's tissues, telling stomata, those tiny pores on leaves, to shut tight. It's a rapid response to conserve what little water remains. Think of it as a plant's version of panic mode. Some plants even change shape in response to drying, curling their leaves, shrinking their surface area, or turning away from the sun to reduce evaporation. And underground, the roots sense drought first. In response, they may send out more branches, searching deeper for moisture. Some roots even change their growth direction, angling toward sources of water, a process known as hydrotropism. So while animals respond to thirst with movement, plants respond with change. It's two very different ways of solving the same problem: how to stay hydrated in a world that doesn't always offer rain. Whether it's the brain of a desert fox or the hormones of a wilting shrub, nature has built countless ways to sense imbalance and countless responses to restore it. Nature doesn't just survive, it invents. And when we look at creatures like the kangaroo rat, the sand gazelle, or the water-harvesting beetle, we're not just seeing biology, we're seeing blueprints, because if these animals can live without drinking water, or thrive on just a few drops a day, what might we be able to learn from them? Take clothing, for example. What if our fabrics could mimic desert fur, trapping moisture, reflecting heat, or even harvesting water from the air? Researchers are already studying beetle shells and cactus skins to design new materials that collect dew or fog and funnel it into drinkable water. In dry regions, homes might one day be coated with materials that draw water from the air. No pipes, no wells, no rain required. Or think about medicine and survival gear. Could emergency rations include food that slowly releases water as it's digested, like the way the kangaroo rat relies on metabolic hydration? Could we design water-efficient diets for extreme environments, like space missions, desert outposts, or even refugee situations? Some researchers are even inspired by desert animals' cooling strategies. Instead of air conditioners that guzzle electricity, imagine cooling systems that imitate how camels circulate heat, or how burrows maintain stable temperatures. And what about our own bodies? We sweat a lot. But what if future tech helped us sweat less, or reclaim that moisture? There's work underway on suits that can capture sweat and recycle it into drinkable water. Not science fiction, but real engineering, often inspired by animals that already do something similar. The desert teaches a powerful lesson. Don't fight scarcity. Adapt to it. For thousands of years, life in arid regions has mastered the art of using less, storing it, recycling it, holding on to it. And today, as water stress becomes a global issue, from cities facing drought to communities with limited access, these natural strategies offer more than wonder. They offer solutions. Biomimicry, the practice of copying nature's designs, is a growing field. And the kangaroo rat? It's not just a desert oddity, it's a tiny engineer, quietly showing us how to live better, with less. What if the future of water isn't just about finding more, but learning how to waste less? So as we look to the future, with its challenges of drought, heat, and scarcity, it's tempting to search for bold, high-tech fixes. But sometimes, the most profound lessons come not from scale, but from subtlety. And no creature embodies that better than the kangaroo rat. We often imagine survival as a battle, a contest of strength, aggression, speed. The lion, the eagle, the apex predator, these are the icons we're taught to admire. But in the desert, that story changes. Here, It's not about domination. It's about efficiency, about doing more with less, about needing less to begin with. The kangaroo rat doesn't chase, roar, or conquer. It lives quietly, softly, almost invisibly. It wastes nothing, not a breath, not a drop, not a single gram of energy more than needed. It thrives by tuning into its world, not overpowering it. Its body is a kind of whispering machine, breathing slowly, moving carefully, metabolizing seeds into water, enduring where others would fail. And there's something beautifully humbling about that. Because in a time where we often equate survival with excess, more tech, more food, more power, the kangaroo rat reminds us that life doesn't always expand by adding more. Sometimes life endures by needing less. It's a kind of quiet wisdom baked into the desert itself. Adapt, conserve, let go of what isn't essential. And maybe, in that dusty silence, we can find a lesson for ourselves, not just in how we survive harsh environments, but in how we live every day, what we consume, what we waste, what we overlook. Sometimes the smallest creatures, the ones we never notice, carry the most profound truths. So, do rats need to drink water? Some do. Some don't. It depends on where they live, what they eat, how their bodies work. And most of all, how much water they lose versus how much they create or keep. The city rat survives by sipping from puddles and nibbling water-rich scraps. The kangaroo rat, deep in the desert, survives by not sipping at all. By conserving, by adapting, by turning seeds into droplets and silence into strength. It's not about being stronger. It's about being suited to your world. In a place where water is a myth, the kangaroo rat becomes a kind of miracle. Not flashy, not loud, but perfectly, beautifully alive. And maybe that's what nature teaches best, that there isn't one way to survive. Just countless quiet strategies, each shaped by need, honed by time, and carried forward by the will to live. Thanks for joining this slow walk through desert biology. If you're feeling a little more curious, or just a little more in awe of the small and the subtle, then we've done our job. Until next time, keep cool, stay curious, and see you again on Relaxed Tomato.